All right, guys. So today we're going to show you how to start a dead BMW. By dead, I mean no crank, no start. I'm going to show you some basic tips on how to diagnose that. Now, this really is not just for BMW. It's for pretty much any car. So this is going to be a generalized video for most cars, right? So we're going to start off with, you're going to get in the car. You have no crank, no start. So we're in the M5 just for a generalization here. Let's say you put the key in, hit the brake. No crank, no start, right? No worky. Well, if you have SMG box, it's probably not in neutral, it's probably in drive. That'll let you start it up. However, if you're not an SMG car, get the hell out of this thing, it keeps beeping, and you're in a regular vehicle, a lot of times it could be something with the shifter. We see a lot of times an older car has an actual shifter cable. Sometimes the shifter cable will actually slip and it won't let it actually put it all the way in park. Therefore, it won't let it start. A lot of times the shifter could be broken. You just don't know. We've seen all that with many different cars. A lot of the Chevy stuff has the broken shifter problem and so forth. So be warned of that. Now, well, we're starting kind of with the more complicated stuff. We're going to go back to the easy stuff at the very end of the video. We're going to start off with the ignition switch. Now, a lot of people think the ignition switch is the part you stick the key in. It is. That's the ignition barrel, per se, right? This is a part that sits behind that. And you guys remember watching the videos in the past, you see me do this on the E53X5. The little contacts fell apart in here. Would not let the car start. No crank, no start. Just all out of nowhere, right? So it depends on what kind of car you have. There's many different ways to diagnose that. And unfortunately, no scanner is going to tell you most of the time this is what the problem is. The next thing we have is the starter. This is a very common one too. A lot of times the starter itself could go bad, but most of the time it's only the solenoid that goes bad. So if you think this is your problem, you go ahead and tap on the starter if you can reach it, tap on the solenoid and see if you get to crank. Now a lot of guys will go through and jumper the solenoid to the starter motor and start the car anyway. Now, if you think it's the battery's dead, turn the headlights on, go in there and crank it. If the headlights are going totally out when you crank the car, you have a battery problem, or you have a battery connection problem. A battery connection problem, I'm talking about the battery terminals right here. So the first thing you want to do is wiggle and make sure they're not loose. Make sure they're not all corroded. If they are, you can spray many things on them, WD-40 being one. Some people take a can of Coke and pour on it, but who wants to do that, right? The best way to do it is take it apart and clean it and put it back together. And take where the bolt goes through, where the wire bolts on, take that out. Yours may not look like this, probably doesn't. Also check the connection here at the post, where the post meets the battery, where the terminal meets the post, I should say, and then follow it down to where it grounds to the frame. Make sure all that's good. Make sure also the connection onto the starter, this one's too dark to see, is good. There we go. Right there. Make sure the wire is good, was going to the starter. Check all that out. But most of the time, it's the battery itself. Close that. And it might be a little bit hard to diagnose. Like I said, if you turn the headlights on, you go crank it and they go totally out, you know something's up. A lot of times the battery goes dead just a little bit. The cell dies off in it where it still has power to run the interior lights and the stereo and stuff like that, but it won't actually crank the car, right? There's a lot of different tools you could use to see if the battery's dead. This being one of them. This was a sponsored video a long time ago. I still use this thing all the time. I'll put a link below. Amazon, these battery checkers, I think they're down to about 40 bucks right now. So if you have several cars in your fleet, you just want to check the battery and see if it's good. Even if you're not having any problems, you just want to see the state of the battery. This will tell you the state of the battery without having any kind of big fancy equipment. And then of course, the next way is for the little jump pack. These little jump packs are about 50 bucks now. I'll put a link below for this also. This keeps you from having to ever use jumper cables. More importantly, it keeps you from having the accidental mix-up of hooking the jumper cables up wrong and having a problem and blowing your ECU up, right? So anything here, if it's too low to start, I pull one of these out. If I'm going to buy a car, I throw this in there. If you get there and it won't start, we have unlimited power. We also charge our phones and everything else off of these. Also, if your battery is dead and it won't start and you have a manual transmission, you could then obviously turn the key on. You could give the car a shove. It's parked on a little bit of a hill, or at least on flat ground. And you could pop start the car, hopefully. So that's a bunch of different ways it's going to help you guys. It's kind of a common sense thing. But then again, a lot of people don't know this stuff. So I figured I'd do a video showing just a basic structure of how I deal with the car that has a dead battery. And we kind of did it backwards. We kind of started with the more difficult things first and worked over to the more simple. So you can work through this list. You could probably definitely figure out what's wrong with your car. Now, one more thing I want to add to it. If you have a German car and let's say you have a problem with the key. If you have a key issue, usually it'll tell you on the dash, it'll light up a little key with a line through it saying that's either not the right key or the car can't see the key. That's a whole nother deal. So if you start out with that first, you got a lot bigger issues and probably very costly issues. So make sure you got the right key to start off with. That's going to be it, guys. We'll see you very soon. Have a good day. And don't forget, check out my Porsche channel, and you can see on the last video what it means whenever you put 75W90 in a automatic ZF transmission. Does it work? Does it grenade it? Go over there, check it out. Link will be in the description for that also. Thanks for watching. We'll see ya.